heard you. We know you're tired of the reruns. We're coming back, bigger and better, on The Legal Brief. I'm your host, Ramona Farquharson. Stay tuned.
At Rusty Bethel Drive, I'm Paiswell Forbes. This is ZNS.
The Rundown is brought to you by Commonwealth Brewery Limited.
Good evening to all of you. Welcome to The Rundown. It's great to have all of you with us again. I'm Clint Watson. Thanks so much for joining us. We're back here second night. Of course, you know what's in the news. The government isn't playing with the Trade Union Congress of the Bahamas. All members under the Trade Union Congress umbrella attached to the Public Hospitals Authority and the Air Traffic Controllers Union must return to work. Now, the Attorney General filing an interim injunction. It was filed today, forcing those employees to return to work immediately. Now, those who refuse to comply will be held in contempt of court and liable to imprisonment or fine. Now, these developments have been really impacting the healthcare sector over the past 2 days. Other areas may not have seen an impact or of any kind of disturbance, but certainly the hospital has. Public Hospitals Authority Managing Director Dr. Arbonette Roll indicated at a press conference late this afternoon there were a few areas that had significant impact, in particular the Princess Margaret Hospital's emergency room. Now, tonight, the Minister of Health and Wellness, the Honorable Dr. Michael Darville, he is here. He will join us at this desk to provide further details on the injunction and what's next for the national health care sector, what their issues and concerns are, and how is he advancing what's happening in the healthcare sector. We want to remind you that the TUC protest, though, was said to only last 2 days. So it would be the last day today. To get better clarification on this action, our news team did contact Trade Union Congress President Obie Ferguson earlier today for an interview, but we understand he was, shall I say, reluctant to give us a response. He did, though, opt to speak with other private media houses instead. Now, we assume that's because of our show last night. He must perhaps be in his feelings. It is what it is, and it comes with the territories. And so, if he doesn't want to respond to the national network, he doesn't have to. The people will make the determination based on the information that they have. So, meantime, other activists and some hope to be candidates for members of parliament are sounding off. And I wonder, well, you probably didn't, because she has only a circle of supporters and people who would tune in. But Maria Jackson of the Coalition of Independents, and that's normally a name you would never hear me call on this show, but she believes, get this, she believes the country should be shut down by unions. She released a voice note agitating, literally begging, literally demanding and decrying to the unions to bring the country pretty much to its knees and shut it all down. Now, you would say, why am I taking time out to talk about what she did? Because I believe, you know, while her voice notes continues, and she probably will do one tomorrow morning about me, perhaps, by the way, anyway, because she loves to talk about me or ZNS with half-truths. But nonetheless, the reason why I'm giving her a few seconds of fame is because I think the responsibility of those who want to lead and serve this country is really far and few. Because when you believe that for your selfish gain of wanting to remove one from office and put another one in office, that you should bring the country to its knees by shutting it down, it makes us wonder, if you were to be, for some strange reason, elected, how would you manage being elected and serving in public office if you don't understand the art of talking and negotiating, but you want the country to suffer. Do we have that soundbite? I asked them to get a portion of what she said in a voice note this morning. Do we have that? Let's go ahead and play that. Maria Jackson. Okay, it's coming. All right, it's still getting it. I told them to get it, but I wanted you to hear a piece of it because we have to be more responsible when we use social media for our advocacies and when we want to voice our views and so forth, because at the end of the day, we have a responsibility all as Bahamians. We live in this country and we want the best for our country. And while we may all have needs, while we may want to ensure that unions' voices are heard and their demands certainly are met within reason, we also want to make sure that our country survives and people can function. And I wonder if we understand the consequences of, quote, shutting it down. Go ahead and play a portion of her voice note. Maria Jackson.
Shut this country down. Huh? This PLP government ain't signing no checks for y'all workers in this country. Listen to me. Y'all need to go get Shane Gibson. Huh? Let Shane Gibson advise y'all how to shut this country down. Look here. You all get too much union leaders in this country, and it looks like the more union y'all get in the country, the weaker y'all get. Huh? The Burma Oil Riot ain't had that much unions like this. Y'all younger generation, y'all playing with this government. Huh? You see how much unions y'all got in this country? Y'all better go join up with Omer Ferguson. Y'all sit down and strategize. Boy, if I was a part of these unions, listen, somebody would have taken the East, somebody would have taken the West, the North and the South. Huh? Shut this country down.
Okay, so as you can hear, she's even chiding the unions that, listen, y'all ain't serious. Because if you were real unions, as in the back in the day, you would have, like the Burma Road riot. So again, probably agitating for another riot to happen. I always tell people, when history is history because of what it did and what it did for the people. And not everything that you see in history means go ahead and repeat it again. I ain't going no further than that. Because it's for a time, a place, and a season. And a cause, right? And when you call for riots, when you call for shutting down the country, are you thinking about the people whose lives are going to be impacted when you shut down a country and the amount of loss, the amount of revenue the country will lose, the amount of impact, the impact that it will have on our country? You talk about shutting it down. You're talking about closing the hospital? So what about people whose loved ones are in there needing dire care? Are you trying to say they should just sit there and die because you shut it down? Are you saying to people who are trying to transact business or who are trying to come into the country and we need border protection because our immigration officers have to be in the front line, our customs officers to be there to collect the country's revenue, and they're not there? What do you say? Just shut down commerce and allow the country to suffer? I wonder if people are really thinking about the words that they're uttering and agitating in the name of, for the people. If you're for the people, then where in your demand to shut it down have you said, let's talk to make sure the people get their needs met? Where in your dialogue are you saying, let's come together and resolve the challenges and discuss the hard things and find solutions so that we can move forward? Instead of calling for peace, instead of calling for order and calm, instead of calling for open dialogue, she's agitating to just shut it down and maybe even a riot if you need to, like the Burma riot. It's concerning to me because these are people that want to represent our country in the future. And if that's what the future looks like, what options do we have for peaceful, professional dialogue and resolution? not take anything away from the unions. I fully support and believe that the rights of workers ought to be addressed. I'll say it again. I fully support and believe that the rights of workers ought to be addressed, and that which is owed to workers ought to be paid. It's difficult. Trust me, I can tell you about it. Sometimes you wonder how you're going to find the money because it's hard, but it's an agreement. These are industrial agreements that have been signed, and they ought to be honored. Now, of course, due to all kinds of circumstances and backlogs, bringing it current is hard. We heard the Minister of Labor talk about last night that some of the things that come up every quarterly in their meetings, they continue to come up because they're hard to solve, and they're age-old problems that you require that if you go ahead and approve it, you got to go ahead and pay the backlog, which is millions of dollars. And we, the people, are the ones who are funding government. So if government is going to need millions of dollars to put in the hands of many of these workers, it's going to come from the people who are paying the taxes, the people who are paying the money. So it's a difficult thing, and all sides have to come together to reconcile and to understand. It's not an easy thing, but governance is never easy. Governance is about making the tough decisions and coming up with the right solutions to make sure that the people of your country are taken care of and they benefit, but you're also able to run your country effectively and efficiently. And the bottom line of all of this is what? Money. It takes money. Now, if the people don't want to see taxes increase, if the people don't want to see money or more taxing derived, it has to come from somewhere. Now, I agree, there are ways to cut back on spending so that the necessary funding can be available to take care of the needs of the people. But is that enough? And is that really what the question is here? Let's talk about it and come up with a solution and find out how to fix it, rather than making irrational calls for destruction of our nation that we all have to live in after this is over. Wise decisions. So I challenge and encourage those who are in the public domain with voice notes and on social media that we take our personal politics out of it, everybody, that we take our personal views out of it, and let's look out for what's best for our country. That's important. Should probably clap back, but it's all right. It's not an attack on anyone. It's to point out that we have to be very careful how we address what we address in our country and speak to the issues, be the advocate for the people, but make responsible comments. Shutting it down doesn't solve it. It makes it worse. All right, so tonight, we'll take a look at what is going on in particularly the healthcare, which I believe it's safe to say, I think the hardest hit with this is our healthcare sector because doctors are not to work and the healthcare sector is feeling it. And I'm concerned about that because the most vulnerable are those who are needing medical attention. The Minister of Health is here, Health and Wellness. He's here. We'll talk to him after the break. And then a little later, we're going to talk about helping those in need, taking it even a step further. The head of Great Commission Ministries is here as well to talk about that. It's an interesting show. But right after the break, Dr. Michael Darville, the Minister of Health. Boy, wouldn't want to be in his shoes tonight, but he can handle it. His shoes are big. We're back after this. This is The Rundown.
We're here at the Nassau Village Community Center project, where over the past 17 months, we've hired over 20 Bahamian subcontractors to bring this beautiful project to fruition.
I've been living in Nassau Village for more than 19 years, and to see a project like this bring great joy and pride to me.
This state-of-the-art multi-purpose community center will serve as a crime-fighting initiative in the community. Also help with the education of our kids in this community and a hurricane shelter.
Yeah, and it also shows what we as Bahamians can achieve when we work hand in hand with each other.
We have the technical know-how, and we can pretty much deliver on any project here in the Bahamas or in the world.
Bahamas Private and Bahamian Company, they prove that they believe in Bahamians.
Based on the outcome of this project, I don't think they're disappointed in giving a small person an opportunity to do a job such as this.
The more opportunity they get, the more opportunity we will get.
If you look around and see the work done so far, it just shows what we as Bahamians can do.
Here at Immigration Care Service, you can trust us, especially if you have experienced issues or problems with the U.S. immigration at the borders. We'll do our best to provide options and solutions to immigration roadblocks, so travelers can continue visiting the U.S. and residents can continue living their lives in the U.S. without worries. The best part? Our services are affordable and accessible. Take the mystery, confusion, and fear out of your immigration concerns. Contact Immigration Care Service today.
The United States of America just voted in its 47th president, Donald J. Trump, and we're packing our bags and heading to Washington, D.C. to be there on Inauguration Day, January 20th, 2025. The stage is set, and here's your opportunity to be a part of this historic journey when you sign up for one of our affordable advertising packages. Your business will be included in our live on-location news stories in the National Report and Access Now. And that's not all. The Rundown with Clint Watson will also air live from Washington, D.C. Thought we were done? Not yet. Our dynamic social media teams will be in D.C. as well, giving you live, interactive, up-to-the-minute updates as it all unfolds. Don't delay. Call our sales department now at 502-3800 and reserve your exclusive D.C. package. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you all set? Well, let's hop on that flight. You know we always have you covered, because only the sun covers the Bahamas better.
Welcome back to The Rundown. It's good to have all of you with us. Those of you joining us on YouTube and of those on the line and on Facebook, I see you all. It's good to have all of you with us, especially I see on the line, Terry Pinder says, I'm watching from North Eleuthera. Good night, North Eleuthera. Good night, Terry. Good to have you joining us in the discussion. And listen, this is important, and we all know the importance of health. Health is wealth, and the nation relies on the government to provide adequate and quality health care on every island in the country. It's a tall order to do. Health and Wellness Minister, the Honorable Dr. Michael Darville, he agrees. He joins us tonight to shed more light on that injunction filed today for healthcare staff to return to work, and also to talk about the healthcare sector. Dr. Darville, welcome to The Rundown. Good to have you.
Thanks to be here, Clint, and Happy New Year to your listening audience.
So let's jump right into it, because I hate to shudder and think if the hospital and our healthcare facilities aren't able to operate at peak. We already know when we do have everybody in at peak, the challenges that are on our healthcare sector. And now with this action, what is happening? How is the PMH, our major institution, how is it faring?
Well, first of all, Clint, I want to thank all of the healthcare workers that stepped in beyond the call of duty, because without their help, I think the situation would have been a lot worse. Healthcare is a difficult situation, not only in the Bahamas, but throughout the region. And there are shortages of healthcare professionals across the region as a result of the mass recruitment that's taking place by the developed countries. It has left the Bahamas in a situation where we are constantly working diligently to ensure we provide these services. The industrial dispute that took place definitely affect us in a very serious way. And as we speak, we're still experiencing some challenges at our accident emergency, because the injunction clearly indicate that workers should be in their positions at the appropriate scheduled time. And so we're now moving to try to bring other physicians and healthcare workers, particularly at our accident emergency, to ensure that the services are provided not only at quality standards, but at a reasonable time.
How bad has it gotten over the past 2 days? When you talk, are there numbers or the figures as to how many doctors didn't come in? How bad was it?
It was terrible, and today we spoke about some of the numbers. Yesterday, we had about 90% of our junior doctors who did not show.
90% didn't show up?
90% didn't show up, and it went a bit worse today at about 98%.
98 today didn't show up?
Absolutely, and of course, I want to thank our nursing staff, because the numbers were not so extensive, and the consulting doctors, there was a high proportion of doctors who didn't show up for their position as well.
How does that impact the hospital and the ability to deal with healthcare?
Anytime you have manpower shortages, healthcare delivery systems are impacted in a negative way. Services take longer to get, And patients are the ones who usually suffer because they cannot see a healthcare professional. I'm very pleased to report that those who were at our accident emergency tonight and last night, they went beyond the call of duty. And I want to commend them for their acts of love and desperation to ensure that services are provided. And so we were severely impacted, and the injunction was necessary to get essential healthcare workers back on the job and to do it in a timely fashion so that we can provide the services that the Bahamian people demand us to do.
I'm going to be very open. I've been an advocate for the doctors union for many years because I've interviewed them on my previous shows and fought for them when they were out in the rain under the previous administration, walking the pavement, and I felt for them because I didn't feel that doctors should have to advocate to be taken care of and to be compensated. I don't think that should have to happen. However, I'm concerned when people's lives are at risk and people don't come to work because of issues and industrial issues, that could potentially be life-threatening to somebody in the hospital.
Well, I agree with you, Clint. Sometimes even for their own loved ones, because no one knows when sickness or illness will come. And it could be an accident, it could be their loved one, it could be my loved one, it could be your loved one who presented a hospital, and at the accident emergency, the physicians are not there to take care of them. So it is a challenge. But when we look at the challenges that are currently faced with our healthcare professionals, there are many. And this is the reason why I believe I have an open door policy where I listen to concerns for healthcare workers. I believe they should be properly compensated. And I believe the issues associated with them and their families should be addressed as well. But I do not agree with industrial action. I believe we should stay at the table and resolve the issues. That's my personal opinion.
So I'm glad you opened that door because I want to go right into there. Why do we still have doctors agitating to get what's owed to them? What is the main issue here for healthcare providers that there seems to not be a resolve?
It is a complex issue, and it goes beyond my term as minister. Some of these issues are legacy issues, and it is very complicated to resolve. Negotiations sometimes reach a point where there's stalemate. There are demands that may supersede the ability of the government at a particular time to supply. The Ministry of Finance is actively involved in negotiations with all financial matters. But for us at the Ministry of Health and Wellness and the PHA, we are constantly negotiating with our doctors. We want them to be comfortable. We want them to be in a good working environment. We want them to be able to provide quality services for our patients. But the negotiations are sometimes very complicated and take years to resolve. I'm pleased to report that much of the challenges that both the junior and senior doctors have, we are prepared to address them. There are some key issues that has some financial ramifications that has created some delays. But I'm pleased now the injunction is in place. They are supposed to be back to work, and we want to work very diligently to resolve these issues, work closely with finance so that our doctors can be happy and these issues can go behind us.
It always seems to be the bureaucracy of the public service that seems to stifle progress. And when I say that, I mean the political will by ministers and governments seem to oftentimes be there, and this is consecutive administrations, but it's the slow-moving wheel of bureaucracy in the public service that seems to stall. And to be honest with you, people in the public service with their own agendas that seem to stall progress. For example, if you, the Minister of Health, are saying that, listen, we want to see our doctors comfortable. I want to see doctors compensated at a certain position that they can do their job. You're saying that I'm standing in agreement with doctors, and I can understand why. You're a physician yourself. Yeah. And you're around the table and saying, yes, I agree, this is due to you. And then you now have to go to another place in government to say, listen, this needs to happen for them, but the wheels of motion are turning slower there. It stifles you from getting satisfaction for the people that you are leading.
I think that's a relatively good point, Clint. And when we look at the public service and the Ministry of Health and Wellness and the Department of Public Health, our employees fall under that umbrella. And when you look at the PHA is an authority that has its own board, it has its own HR department, and many of the issues fall directly with them. So with the PHA, things can move a bit faster because public service is more bureaucracy. And so the Ministry of Health is caught in this web where I have employees that work with the ministry and are governed by the rules and regulations of the public service. And then I have employees with the Public Hospitals Authority that is regulated by their board and their own HR department. So we work together to address many of the issues across the board in health, while at the same time going to the Ministry of Finance, which is the public purse, to say that these new rules and regulations can impact the Ministry of Finance in this particular way. What is your input? And this is where the wheels begin to slow down, because this is where the real negotiation comes and the arbitration to find the sweet spot to satisfy union and satisfy the public purse.
I do feel for unions, and I'll tell you why I say feel for unions. People get tired of coming to the table talking about the same thing over and over. You know, the saying that says, if you are doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, it's called insanity.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I understand and I feel for unions who constantly come to the table. And every administration, it's the same discussion, the same issue, the same problems we're having. This is what we need fixed. And there's this the response that, okay, we can deal with it. And then you go to the powers that be or the bureaucracy, and then the wheels take slow, and before you know it, 5 years is up, and you're either out and somebody else is in, and they go through the same process. I understand why unions get tired, because they're going through the same manner of expressions with every administration, every term, and when the 5 years are up and it doesn't continue, it is a new administration, and you go through the wheels of motions all over again, trying to bring them up to speed on what happened and what didn't happen. It is frustrating for workers and unions to keep every 5 years saying the same story, giving you the same list of what our issues are, every 5 years to a new administration and not getting any further. So I see the frustration. And so my question then is this, or I don't even know if it's a question, I want to get your input on it. And I've said it before. The Bahamas signs millions of dollars in new investments for some of the wealthiest people in the world. Why are we not attaching to these heads of agreements a committal tax for the development in the same country you want to make your millions in, for healthcare, for sports, for education, for cultural development? Why are we not taxing on these heads of agreements a percentage that will go towards developing and paying a lot of this backlog, taking care of a lot of this debt that are financial matters for a lot of our people? Why are we not allowing the millions and the rich people around the world who want to invest in the Bahamas to not help us handle the debt if the government does not have the money?
Well, when we look at the Ministry of Investments, a lot of our heads agreements have been changed over the years to bring resources from direct foreign investment to assist with the development of our country. I must commend the Deputy Prime Minister, the entire team, and the Prime Minister, because I sit at the table when we discuss lots of these heads of agreement. So over the last few years, there has been many changes in order for us to be able to maximize direct foreign investment in our country. The precise thing you talk about on trying to get funding for unions, that is something we probably need to look at.
Yeah.
But I think it's a reasonable idea. And so I believe we need advice. It's always good to listen to third parties to get advice.
Well, that's free tonight. I give you that free.
Hey, listen here, we appreciate that.
I give you that free tonight.
And it's something that I believe is worthwhile looking at. But with that being said, many other aspects of direct foreign investment and the development of our country is taken into consideration in our new...
I want to talk about that. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about that, because my question is going to be, and I'll give you time to think about it, so I'll give it to you now. If we are challenged with funding and taking care of who we have now, with a new hospital, an expanded healthcare sector, how are we going to be able to take care of it? I'll let you answer that after the break. You're watching The Rundown. We're back after this.
Is the Little Caesars Stuffed Crust Pizza. Get more pizza for less money. Only $12. It's a whole new level of pizza with cheese stuffed crust so spectacular that there's nothing left.
Pizza.
A delicious pepperoni pizza with the crust stuffed with lots of cheese and brushed with butter and garlic flavor and sprinkled with Parmesan cheese. Hot and ready Thursday to Saturday between 4 and 8 for only $12. Simply irresistible. And only at Little Caesars.
Pizza.
Hey, what's up, Mario?
Hey, Dale, what's going on?
Have you seen ZNS new digital platforms?
No. Let me go check it out.
Good day, Bahamas. I'm Devontae Hanna, and this is ZNS Digital,
where we cater to your news and entertainment needs. Are you a foodie? I thought so. Then look out for Digital Bites.
Shining a light on Bahamians and the good that they do, ZNS Digital is home to the Sunshine Room.
Keeping up with the latest trends, our original content will keep you entertained.
Yeah, that's cool.
But have you seen the new website?
No, I didn't see it. Let me go look.
We're still your most trusted source for news and information.
That's ZNS Digital?
Yeah, that's ZNS Digital, the people station in your pocket.
By giving unconditionally, not expecting anything in return, I thought it was a wonderful way of showing this love, and I believe that it is love that truly draws people, and so I thought we could cover a lot more people by feeding. Volunteers, you know, they have truly been sold.
My passion is to help, and I thank God for what I can do through the help of Bahamas Feeding Network.
Welcome back to The Rundown. My guest tonight in this segment, of course, is the Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Michael Darville. Taking the hard questions, because we're trying to find solutions in this country, and the best way to find solutions is to talk about it, right? Because no one has all the answers. All of us talking and suggesting things help make our country better, and that's what we need to do more of. Solutions, not talking about the problems or beating down people or attacking people, but let's find a way to find the solutions that work because we want to make our country better. And before the break, Dr. Darville, I ask you, if we're challenged now, meeting the financial commitment to the doctors that we do exist, that we do have, and we're challenged now because we're competing with the world who want our doctors and our healthcare professionals, how then do we expand our, and I must say, we need to expand our healthcare. The country is growing by leaps and bounds. What PMH was able to do back then is pittance compared to what we need now. We need another hospital. We need more hospitals. You've seen that vision and you're trying to do just that. But how are you going to staff it if we're challenged right now with meeting the demands of the personnel that exist?
Well, that's an excellent question because there's a shortage of healthcare workers globally. The Caribbean is impacted, not only the Bahamas, from Trinidad all the way north. Everyone's feeling this demand on healthcare workers, and the world is recruiting in our region. So we have to have a plan. Our plan in healthcare is short, medium, and long term. The short-term plan was to go in and do an inventory to see where the deficits are and begin now to fill those deficits with local healthcare professionals, and if they're not in the country, we bring them in to assist us. That stabilizes the healthcare system. While that's happening, we must start training. And to produce a nurse takes you about 5 years. So these are not assets that you could train in 6 months.
Right.
These are specialized assets, so you have to train. So training is paramount to begin now to ensure that you have Bahamians who could fill these positions. Then we look at infrastructure. It's crumbling. Most of our healthcare infrastructure has been in existence back in the 1950s.
Doc, I saw some of the clinics on Family Islands, and you wonder, this is where people go if they're sick?
Absolutely. And so my mandate as the Minister of Health was to assess all of our primary healthcare facilities, and I'm pleased to report that we are out throughout the Family Islands repairing them.
We see them?
Absolutely. So if you were to go to Andros, anywhere you see my facilities upgraded. We're upgrading a digital platform to ensure that we're able to bring telemedicine and do a better job in managing inventory and other aspects associated with clinic management. Likewise in our hospitals. Coming out of COVID-19, we found a hospital collapsing. And so our job was to go in and repair And we are continuing to repair those facilities while we move to new greenfield sites. I'm pleased to report that our facility in Grand Bahama Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the healthcare campus should be completed by the latter part of this year.
Wow.
Absolutely.
It's moving that fast.
It's moving very well, and for anyone, they can go and see it. And very shortly, we will break ground on our specialty hospital here. Our town hall meetings made it very clear that the need for a new specialty hospital exists, but we must make sure that the spaces left behind at the Princess Margaret Hospital are repaired and are in good working operations so that our staff and patients can be in a decent environment. How are we going to fund this? Every year as minister, I go to the Ministry of Finance for a budget for healthcare, which is public health, the PHA, and national health insurance. National health insurance is the way forward for the country. We have to find another financial mechanism to be able to sustain healthcare delivery systems throughout the country.
Doc is important. Let me tell you why. I can pause right there and tell you. Healthcare in this country is becoming so unaffordable that the burden on the public health sector is going to continue to increase because people cannot afford insurance, they cannot afford private health care. Right. So they're going to be forced to migrate to the public health sector. And that means if we don't have a stronger system, the quality of health care for our own citizens is going to deteriorate and people are going to die.
It is absolutely right, Clint. Our job as the gatekeepers for healthcare is to ensure that we move our healthcare system from where it is now into the 21st century. I want the Bahamian people to know that a lot of the shocks that you're currently experiencing in healthcare is an indication of a tsunami that will come in years to come. So it is our job as healthcare planners, as healthcare managers, as government, to ensure that we prepare the country to prevent this catastrophic event that's going to take place in healthcare. And I want the Bahamian people to know that in our plan, infrastructure development is taking place. We have started our training for healthcare workers. We're trying to find ways to be able to purchase more affordable drugs, more affordable supplies, so that we can provide the essential services, so that our medical, surgical interventions, as well as our gynecological and obstetric cases can be handled in a modern, structured environment so that our Bahamian people can get the care they deserve.
What about people who are fighting cancer?
Yes.
I cannot tell you. My heart bleeds and aches because in this country, people who are diagnosed with cancer, the reason why people, I think, see it as a death sentence is because in this country, if you get diagnosed with cancer and you don't have money, it is so hard to survive because what people charge for chemotherapy and treatment, you give up. Because where do you get the health care from if you don't have insurance? Is there anything in the plan to ensure that people can live when they get these catastrophic diagnoses?
Clint, this is a challenge throughout the developing world. The cost of drugs and the necessary interventions to address chronic cancers and debilitating diseases. The science is becoming so sophisticated and modern. All chemotherapy drugs are now on the back burner, and we have all of these immunotherapies. Some of them can run up to $10,000, $15,000 a vial.
Wow.
But the outcomes are almost magical because it is completely modern.
Wow.
What we are doing in cancer therapy is, and I want to speak to Grand Bahama because when we open the first phase of that facility, we will have our oncology center for the first time in Grand Bahama. Many people can't wait for that to happen.
Because right now, many of them have to come to the...
Exactly.
They have to come to the capital for treatment.
Exactly. And what we want to do is we want to take the Grand Bahama Health Services and the Rand Memorial Health Services up to the necessary tertiary level that it needs to operate in and provide services for the northern region. But cancer and the cause of chemotherapy and cancer drugs are extremely high. We are, through national health insurance, through our catastrophic interventions and providing the necessary basic package, will ensure that oncology services are incorporated in the essential package associated with national health insurance. That is the direction we're heading in. And I want the Bahamian people to know that by way of national health insurance and with the full implementation of our basic package, every citizen in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas will become a private patient. That's where we're going.
Say that again, doctor. Say that again, Dr. Darville.
National health insurance, with the full implementation of the basic healthcare package, will move the Bahamas from where we are today, where every citizen in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas will become a private patient. That is our journey, and we are mandated to meet that journey by the Pan American Health Organization by the year 2030.
Wow.
But we are trailblazing in the Caribbean, and I am sure that with the political will that we currently have and the support from our private and public healthcare partners, we will be able to provide an element of catastrophic care and then move into our basic healthcare package, where we will find a new funding mechanism.
That's it.
Where we will not be tied in with the public purse at the Ministry of Finance, but everyone in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas will have to contribute a little, and for us to use those resources effectively to provide these essential services.
I must ask you about the organ transplant program. Where are we with that?
The organ transplant program is presently at a standstill for 2 or 3 reasons. One of the challenges we have is when we looked at the program, most of the insurance companies like to do organ transplant in centers of excellence. And so as we're preparing our staff for the transplant, we are moving closer towards it, but it requires more training. And the reality of the organ transplant program is that with the amount of dialysis patients we currently have in the country, the demand is now extremely high, and we are in discussions with local experts as well as international partners to activate the program that may start initially out of the country and eventually migrate back into the country, because everyone is asking for centers of excellence, and when you put a new program together, it takes a while to get to that level. So we are working, but the program itself is not moving as fast as we would like to.
I see somebody's asking online, and I got to bring this up because I know about this. Someone is saying online, still waiting to get my eyes fixed. Any update, please talk. They want to know about the eyes program.
Well, I'd like to speak about the eye program. I thought it was very, very effective. We were working very closely with the Cuban government, and we were sending about 50 people a week to Cuba, fully covered by the catastrophic health line in my ministry.
That's amazing.
And we provide ELIF, we provide accommodation, we provide surgery, we provide
free of charge.
Free of charge.
Wow.
For individuals who qualified. What happened with that program? The Cuban government had a challenge with their power grid, and it put the program in jeopardy. I'm pleased to report that that program will be reactivated again. And we also have another program that we're working closely with the Chinese government. That program is moving. I think it should start in about 3 months. And that will also provide services for cataract and retinal surgeries for Bahamians who are not ambulatory and who have to be at home. But for those who have been waiting diligently for cataract surgeries, I want to let you know that the program is still activated. It has been put on hold short term, and we are in negotiations with the Cuban government to reactivate that program ASAP.
Doc, as we wrap up, I will have to ask you, obviously, doctors are expected to be back to work tomorrow. What is the way forward to this resolve?
Well, first of all, I'd like to speak to the doctors who were in the industrial dispute. I want to let you know that the government is very keen on bringing these issues to an end. We have an open policy, particularly at my office, as well as the Public Hospitals Authority, to address the very few complicated issues that resulted in individuals calling in sick. I want to let the Bahamian people know that we want to do what's best for our doctors. We want them to be comfortable, we want them to be in a good working environment, and we want to work together. We don't want to have disputes going on at our facility. It's not good for providing healthcare services. For the Bahamian people, we are pleased that the injunction now makes sure that we have physicians and healthcare workers in place so we can provide services. For those who had clinic appointments that had to be postponed and rescheduled, we have a team that we're going to put together to reach back out to those individuals who need immediate support. And lastly, we want all of our our clinics throughout the Family Islands to be operating at an optimal level so we can detect diseases in their early stages and address the issues associated with chronic non-communicable diseases throughout the country. And so I'm looking forward to come out of this emergency mode that we're presently in and get back into the business of providing primary, secondary, and tertiary health care services throughout the country.
Dr. Darville, thank you for taking time. I know it's busy and it's a tall balancing act, but thank you for the resolve and the wherewithal to fight and to continue going. Thank you again for being on the Rundown.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Bahamas.
When we come back tonight, we're going to talk to Bishop Walter Hanchel, no stranger, of course, the man behind Great Commission Ministries, and of course talk about the fact that there's so many in need and how they're being able to address the need that it's in this country. We're back after this. Stay close.
Hi, I'm Brent Burrows, Vice President of Retail and Sales at CBS Bahamas and the CBS Pro Store. Not only do we guarantee the best prices on all your favorite building materials, but we're proud to offer the best delivery program in all of Nassau. Whether you buy one box of screws or a truckload of plywood, island-wide delivery is just $5. And for our Family Island customers, we're proud to offer complimentary drop-off to the mailboat of your choice. Visit us today at the CBS Pro Store on Robinson Road and check out our website to set up your next delivery.
Hello friends, I'm Mario Nuri, inviting you to the next A Familiar Walk as we walk down memory lane with our program over the years. Memories are the key not to the past, but to the future. So join us with former Governor Generals Dame Ivy Dumont, Sir Orville Turnquest, Sir Arthur Foulkes, former Prime Minister Perry Christie, and former Deputy Prime Minister and now Governor General Dame Cynthia Pratt. At every phase of our life, we make memories that we cherish all our lives, and we ask you to join us for a few of ours.
It's a joy, to help someone who is in need,
I'm proud to know that we are able to accommodate them with a hot meal, fresh meal, and a well-balanced meal.
A lot of our clients, as you know, is in the inner city and persons who really include and so much have lost their job. And for whatever reason, 2 months, 3 months, they really don't have anything.
You have to have some kind of kindness to do this.
Welcome back to the Rundown. We're in our final segment for tonight, and of course, we're talking about something that is very crucial and important in our country. Live to give. That's the mantra of Great Commissions Ministry. If you live here in the capital, you would see those in need lined up at the organization's Wolf Road headquarters to get food, water, living accommodations, and even just advice. It was established in 1987. CEO Bishop Walter Hanchel has been leading the charge to feed, shelter, and empower the needy. So, while some of us only do it one day out of the year or 1 week out of the year, and we feel we should get a pat on the back for doing good, they do it every day of the year. He's joining us now on the Rundown to talk about it. Bishop Hanchel, welcome to the Rundown.
Thank you, Clint. It's good to be here.
The needs still exist?
Oh, to a great extent.
Wow.
Yep.
It's gotten far worse, I call it, because of course it is worse when you can't eat and find food. It's become a challenge.
I'll tell you how bad it has gotten in recent months. Nowadays, people start lining up at 7 o'clock for a plate of food at 12 o'clock or a bag of grocery. That's how bad it's gotten.
Wow. And this is not just people who just want to take advantage of the fact that it's free food. These are people who sincerely need it.
People come from Fox Hill to Wolf Road, all over. And we average right now about 600 meals per day.
Per day?
Per day, every day. That's like conducting 3 banquets. We do that every day, and every day it's a miracle to feed those persons. And I must say that the reports that I'm getting, Great Commission Ministries has the best food on the island, even better than many restaurants.
Wow.
And it's tasty, it's healthy, and we give a good portion every day because the clients that come to us every day, many of them, that's the only solid meal they would have all day. And we count it a privilege and a joy to be able to serve those people. To me, they're very special. I believe God has called us to take care of the poor, and that is what we do. We feed the homeless and we shelter. We feed the hungry and we shelter the homeless. That is what we do. That is what Great Commission Ministries is all about.
It's one thing to feed people every day, Bishop Hanchel, but is there some program to move people from this dependency to self-sufficiency where they won't need it anymore? How do we do that so that it's years down the line, the same people aren't coming every day for meals, but they're in a better position?
That's a good question, and we've been working on that for years. But I'll tell you what most people don't understand. The fact that we have different levels of poverty. We have people who are poor, who have no job, no skills, bad work ethics, and nobody would hire them. And then we have people who are working. Many of them are government workers.
Wow.
I call them the working poor. They get a salary, maybe $1,500, $2,000 a month.
But it's maxed out.
80% of that goes directly to the bank, and they have $300, $400 to live off for the entire month. So that's a reality that we have to deal with. And not only that, put on top of that, the cost of living in the Bahamas. Now that's where it really gets bad. The cost of living is so high. I think about a year ago, the Bahamas was number 5 in the entire world in terms of the cost of living. And the cost of living is high, the cost of doing business is high, the cost of rental units is extremely high.
Yeah. And people are now intentionally making them high so they can just save them for Airbnbs.
It's not just that. That's a factor. But even in areas where there are no Airbnbs, the rent has gone up, just like everything else has gone up. The cost of everything. I bought a folder yesterday, a report folder, and it cost me $7.15. I was paying $1.95 for that same folder a year ago. $7.15. So it's not just the cost of food, it's the cost of products, everything. You know, the 5% VAT, I really appreciate that. And that, I want to commend the Prime Minister for that reduction. That helps in particular the very, very poor. But the truth of the matter is, the VAT helps, but the problem is not the VAT. The problem that I observe is the cost of the product. Because if a product was costing, for example, you go in the food store, if it was costing $4 and it's up to $9, $10, then the VAT wouldn't make a big difference.
It's only a small percentage.
Yeah, it's only a small percentage.
It's a marginal increase on the product.
Right, but the problem is the cost of that product to the public.
But do you believe it's generally bought at a higher cost, or do you believe it's just the markups that we're seeing? Because a lot of these wholesale companies are being given concessions and supports. So why is it not being passed on to consumers?
Greed. I think it's the markup.
Yes, yes.
In most cases, it's the markup.
It's the markup.
So I believe the government has to find a way to get them to bring the prices down for the sake of the small man, the average person. And the high prices don't affect the rich. It affects the middle class and the poor. And I represent them, and I speak on their behalf, and I've been advocating for the poor and the middle class for 30 years. And we've had some results, but in recent years, the prices just went through the roof. We don't know what to do.
It was a vision of the late Minister of Social Services, Obi Wilscombe, who had envisioned opening up at social services its own food market, its own food barracks, and they would buy in bulk as a government where they can get those discounted prices, especially on meat. Cut out the wholesaler. Just buy containers of these foods directly from the producers and sell them at face value cost.
At cost price.
In a food store run by social services, so that people can cut out all those middlemen, all those markups, all the VAT, all those other things, and sell it at cost. And unfortunately, he passed and it was never able to see that come to fruition. But I thought it was an amazing idea, because at the end of the day, if our great retailers and the big food chains aren't going to be able to give us the relief that people need to see, then you got to make some radical decisions so that people can afford to feed their families.
Clint, if somebody would take the challenge and do what Obi had planned to do, they would be a national hero in this country.
Yeah.
Because I have never seen so many people struggling and hurting as I've seen in the last year, maybe year and a half. And it's across the board, all over. Mostly the middle class. People cannot afford to buy food. And if you can't buy food, you know, you're delving into poverty, and we know poverty causes a lot of other social problems, like crime. Crime increases when people cannot eat, when people cannot afford to feed their family, and it's hard. So I believe that we could do some things. You asked about why do we feed these people? We feed them because they have to eat,
right?
And if they don't eat, they can cause a lot of problems. People come to us every day angry, frustrated, bitter. They sometimes they're so frustrated they just get beyond themselves, and we have to try to control the crowd. And I realize it's because they're hurting so badly. Yesterday we did our boots on the ground, walking through the neighborhood around in the Wolf Road area. We do it every Monday. We launched that officially yesterday, and we're going to do it boots on the ground for 52 weeks. We went into homes. Most of those homes, no food in the house. 5 and 6 children with a mother, maybe a boyfriend, sitting around. And this thing that we talk about, persons not wanting to work, yes, we have a percentage that don't want to work. But we also have a lot of people who want to work but cannot work. You know, they have this thing called discouraged workers.
Discouraged workers.
I believe that figure is higher than what it's supposed to be, because with me on the ground, I'm seeing a lot of people want to work, they just cannot find the jobs.
Right.
And we know that tourism is booming right now, and that's good for the country, but we got to make sure, find a program.
It's got to filter to everybody.
Exactly.
Other people. It has to filter out. I totally agree with you. We have to keep great commissions ministries operating. And the best way for us to do that is to be able to support with our finances and with goods. What are some of the things that you need? You know, obviously money, but we've got to also give, people may not have money, what else can you use?
We cook about 200, 250 pounds of meat every day.
Wow.
Every single day. So we always need meat. We always need groceries. Our pantries, we can fill that up, and it's filled for 2 or 3 days. After that, the stock is depleted.
Right.
We have to keep getting food in every single day, every week, 2 or 3 times a week, because the food is going out so fast, so quickly. People come to us and they line up looking not just for a plate of food, but because they have nothing at home, they want a bag of grocery.
Something to carry with them.
Yes, and we accommodate them as much as we could, but we are stretched to the limit. And I want to thank those persons who support us. We have our regular supporters. It's not sufficient. We need more supporters, but there's so many people that are so compassionate that help us to make sure that we can have food to provide for those people who are really, really needy. And that's what Great Commission is all about.
Bishop Angelo, thank you for taking on the big charge of feeding people who are in need and reaching souls throughout this country. It's been your life. It's been your life, your wife's life. And so our country, we salute you in what you're doing, and wherever we can help, wherever you can help. Instead of talking about the problems, let's be a part of the solutions in our country. You never know when you may have a dark day and may need to stop by and pick up a meal as well. So please, let's help. Whatever donation you can do, let's reach out to Great Commission Ministries and help them to continue every day providing meals for those who are in need and providing that support system. Bishop Angelo, thank you for coming on the show tonight and talking to us.
You're welcome.
We appreciate it.
Good to be here.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That's our show tonight for the Rundown. Be sure to stay locked on the ZNS Network for the Bahamas tonight at 11. It's a final newscast in the country with the latest news and information with Royston Jones. I didn't see Royston. He's here. Get ready for the 11 o'clock news, so stay tuned for that. For all of us here at ZNS, I'm Clint Watson. Thanks for joining us. Good night. At the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas, I'm Clint Watson, and this is ZNS.
Thou shalt not kill, the sixth commandment that God has given us. Unfortunately, many in our society do not adhere to this.